morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Heumann Perspective. Today I've got the privilege, really the privilege, of talking with my friend John Register. I think you're really going to find him a very interesting, fascinating, complex guy who's done some amazing things over the course of his life. This month, we're celebrating the National Disability Employment Awareness Month, which is one of the reasons I wanted to invite John to speak with you this month. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Judy. I'm so honored to be with you. This is my shiro, everybody. I can't believe I'm on your show. My gosh, it's awesome.
That's the way I feel when I meet with you. John, you've had an amazing life, and I'm wondering if we could just very briefly for our audience highlight some of the major events. You were born a non-disabled man, right?
St. Louis, Missouri.
In Missouri.
Gateway to the west, right? Yeah, it was. But I think as we kind of talk about the storyline, it's really a riches to rags to riches story, where growing up, I had all the kind of the privilege of playing sports and doing music and just kind of living what we call quote unquote a normal life.
You were a cellist, right?
Cellist as well. Yeah, played a little piano, sang in choirs. On the football team, was on the track and field team, state champion track and field. So I did all these things. It's kind of well-rounded. I just loved a lot of the music and arts and sports all together, which really kind of pushes the Olympic movement. When I went to college on a partial athletic scholarship, partial music scholarship, and was a 4-time track and field All-American at the University of Arkansas, and I wanted to continue to run track. So I joined and enlisted in the United States Army to do that on the Army's world-class athlete program. And this program allows a soldier athlete to train for about 4 years prior to their games, for Olympic Games. And I was on my way, but Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm came up, and I was called to serve there. And when I came back, I had a very short time to try to train for the games. I went to 2 Olympic trials, 88 and 92. The latter in the 400-meter hurdles. On May 17th, 1994, when I was training for my 3rd Olympic trials, ranked as one of the top hurdlers in the United States by USA Track and Field News, top 20 in the world, I went across a hurdle, landed awkwardly, dislocated my left knee, severed the artery behind the kneecap, and 7 days later found myself making the choice to become an amputee because of the complications, and thus enter the world of disability.
Prior to your injury, what was your view of disability, of disabled people?
I don't even know if I really had one. I mean, it was, there were definitely youth in our school that I grew up with. I remember Diana Jordan. So she had cerebral palsy. She has cerebral palsy, and she's an actress now out in Los Angeles. And I was always kind of, amazed at how she just kind of took life and just lived it unapologetically, going around the school system. And I think, sometimes I think, I don't know if I want to catch that, right? I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I can handle being a person with a disability the way that she's doing it. So I admired her, but at the same time was also kind of afraid that, I don't want to be that as well. So, that's just kind of the raw truth about it.
And once you became disabled, you acquired your disability. How did you transition? Because you really were on a trajectory to move forward in the military, continue with your athletics, and that all changed.
Yeah, that's such a fascinating question because, looking at Diana, right, and understanding what people with disabilities go through, we don't know what we're internalizing by seeing this in general population, general society. So they're buried. And then at the point of injury, I began questioning my identity. Who am I now? Is my wife still going to stay with me? Is my son still going to see me as his father? Do I still have a job in the military? Can I support my family? All of these were weighing heavy on my heart with just an amputated leg, right? And then I was also thinking about other people believing for me what I could or could not do, which was based upon what they believed they could or could not do if they were in my situation. And who put those thoughts there in the first place? What did I listen to? Who did I listen to in society that was making me believe those fears in the first place? Mm-hmm. And that was really the transitional point of understanding when Alice tells me, my wife, she says, you know what, John, we're going to get through this together. This is just our new normal. So it was with that mindset that nothing really has changed. I mean, I'm still the same person. I'm missing a leg above my knee. And I began to look at that with a very different lens. And so instead of me saying, like other people wanted me to say, I overcame the amputation of my left leg, I realized that was not it. Because had I overcome the amputation of my left leg, I'd have my leg back. So we often don't overcome what we think we overcome. And that was the journey I began understanding. And it lit into me like a fire to understand that individuals with disabilities just want to live life on their own terms, independently, as much as possible, like all of us do. And that became a driving fuel for me.
So this was 1994.
Right.
That you had your injury, and you've really had a great trajectory. And today, one of the areas that you're working with are working with employers to get them to understand, I think, a whole host of issues. So while you've also been focusing on disabled people and disabled veterans, etc., you also have really been bringing issues of race relations into the corporate structure. So maybe if you could talk with us a little bit about the work that you're doing now and how you've melded the totality of yourself into the work that you're doing.
Yeah. So to kind of, for your audience, unpack what happened, I swam for physical therapy, and then 26, 27 months after the amputation, I'm on the Paralympic swim team. So Paralympic Games for those athletes with physical disabilities and visual impairment. 4 years after that, I won the silver medal in the long jump in Sydney, Australia, returning back to the track. And through that entire process, I began to understand all these intersections that I had. I saw the discrimination from not only being a brown and black person, but also being a person with a disability. And even a group said I couldn't vote in their election in like the track and field environment because I was no longer part of the Hurdlers Association because of my disability. Well, all this acumen, all this stuff I've learned as a hurdler is now gone because I'm an amputee now. Come on, that doesn't even make sense. So the passion I have around this is really to get people to help them understand their fears. So with businesses, as you were alluding to, business individuals, a lot of times when we look at the ADA, we're celebrating 30 years of the American with Disabilities Act, 75 years of INDEEM. We are looking at this from the standpoint, or they look at it from the standpoint of, we made so much progress. We have curb cutouts. We can travel around the world. We can all these things. We can lead the world in human rights and civil rights and disability rights. But what we haven't done so well is understand that person who I was when I was looking at Diana Jordan, right? This amazing
non-disabled child.
This absolutely. And so it's our attitudes that we have around it, and we the and the ability to get past that, the ability to see a person for who they are, and the gifting that they bring, the amazing talent that comes into the workforce that we can have. And that I begin to try to shift the mindset around it and ask those questions. Why don't we have these hiring practices? Why aren't they there? Because that's it's not just about going out and trying to, as we heard in either in the black community or brown community, of the CEO of a big bank saying that, well, we just don't know where to go find black individuals to be on we just don't have the talent to go out there and actually find them, is actually what I say. But when we look at people with disabilities at the same way, we often are forecasting onto individuals what we believe they can or cannot do, based on what we believe we can or cannot do if we're in this situation. So therefore, talent managers, hiring managers, they see a population coming to them that's talented, but they just don't know how they might get the job done. So therefore, they push them to the side.
So
and we
what are
still
you
haven't
doing?
looked at.
What are you doing to help people in these businesses not only see what they haven't been doing, but to help them move forward so that they can be changing the corporate structure?
So I think one is to begin to ask the question, and one of the first thing I do is, how many people are in your organization right now that have a disability? might be a hidden disability, but they have not disclosed that disability. So that gets them to see that there are already people working in the organization. And then I try to take them through a what to wow to now, kind of like in the Paralympic movement. When people look at the Paralympic movement, they look at an individual and they're like, what am I watching here? What's going on? I don't really understand what's happening. Disabled people are running and jumping and stuff. I don't get this. And then they see a person who's totally blind run under 11 seconds for a 100-meter dash. And they go, wow, that's amazing. And
And do
that
they
takes,
feel that that person is an exception, or do they see, I think, what you're trying to present them, which is people, all people, including those with disabilities, are able to achieve way more than we typically think?
yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I think it's the more the former. I think with people with disabilities, it's a two-step process. So it's like I never thought this was even possible, and now they're even running faster and jumping farther than I could ever do. And then we get to from that wow factor to, okay, now that I'm armed with this information, how do I show up? So what's my reality look like now? And when we begin to see individuals that we never thought could do something actually show up in their full authentic self and are excelling and producing and more than anyone else, because we know that people with disabilities, they show up more on time, they're more present in the workforce, they are they take less breaks, they're less absent from the job, they take less sick leave days, there's only $600 or less from how much we have to do an accommodation for people with disabilities in the workplace. And we don't know those things because we don't look to see what the real numbers are. And that's what I'm trying to help those organizations, businesses understand.
You know, for me, those examples demonstrate people's fear, those of us with disabilities, of losing our jobs,
Yeah.
of not taking advantage of what a company is offering, vacation days and things like that.
Right.
So you have recently written a book, which is called, um, sorry, 10
10
Power
power stories.
Stories. Go ahead.
10 power stories to impact any leader. Journal your way to leadership success.
Why did you write the book?
I wrote the book because I wanted a book done. I wrote the book because, you know, I'm a part of my role. I go out and do presentations. I'm some people call that a keynote speaker. I'm more of an influencer that most people tell me back because my thoughts are just a little bit different than just kind of keynoting. I really want to help drive some change instead of just leaving. But I found I was doing more of that, just kind of going up, showing up, and talking about a mission statement or a vision statement and articulating that value to that organization as the CEO or the senior suite executives would want me to, but then I would leave, right? And then how do you continue that conversation going? Well, one way is that that CEO executive needs to be able to tell their own story. So I wrote this book with 10 kind of stories, my stories that inject or infuse some type of thought or help a person find their own story. So at the end of every chapter, I give some, not really insights, but examples or invite people to journal what they thought about the story I just wrote, how that impacts their life, and how they might be able to use that, their own story in their, from what I just wrote, in their business line. So in case we come up with something like, I don't know, COVID, you have a story that you can tell to help people be more resilient because you're the leader and they need to hear your voice in this moment, in this time.
John, I really want to thank you for sharing a few minutes with us. You are definitely an influencer, and we will put up the book information so that people can get it. And I just want to thank you for your real commitment and recognition that, you know, you're not a motivational speaker. You're a change agent. And I think you make that clear when you're working with different companies, that you're not there just to give them a speech, which you can check off and say, I gave a speech. But ultimately, your objective really is to help move these companies forward so that next year, when we have yet another ending impacted by COVID, that we hopefully will see that as small and large businesses are coming back, that disabled people will not be an afterthought, but will be a
Right.
meaningful part of the changes that businesses are making. So I really sincerely want to thank you for who you are. And thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon on the next Human Perspective. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Judy. Appreciate you. Love you.
Love you too.